Well, howdy, folks. I hope you're enjoying our shorter versions of what we had been doing here on The Voice of Truth. I figured I would hone it down a little bit for you and get straight to the point. Been looking at the Gospels the last few weeks. Last week we were off. I was on vacation, family reunion, all that stuff for the 4th. But wanted to dive back in this week and talk about the woman at the well from John chapter 4. Guys, I love this story. One of the first, revelations the Lord ever gave me was from this story. And we'll get to that later. But let me just give you a couple verses here. The Gospel of John chapter 4, verse 25 and 26. I'm reading out the NIV. Got a new Bible on order. Hopefully it'll be here Saturday. The woman said, I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to us. Then Jesus declared, I, the one speaking to you, I am he. I tell you, this... I love this story. I really do. I always have this picture of Jesus sitting on the well, waiting for me to come. But anyway, this Samaritan woman, and what I want to do with these little things, maybe is give you a new view to look at. Maybe you've never heard it this way before. Scriptures can be approached in so many ways. They can have more than one meaning. I know it's hard for some to get a hold of. But this Samaritan woman, Jesus says, I must needs go through Samaria. Preachers are always mistreating this woman. We've just assumed, and myself included, we just assumed that she was promiscuous and immoral. She'd been married 5 times, and the preachers would say even God can even forgive her sins. Like she is such a horrible person. The fact is, nowhere in this story or anywhere else is she described as promiscuous. I hope I'm saying that right. Nowhere does Jesus call her a sinner or tell her, as he did others, go and sin no more. It's not there. So this is not a story about morality. Okay? It's not a story about Jesus liberating a woman from her own debauchery, her own sex life. That's not it. It's a story about Jesus revealing himself as the Messiah, as the Christ, to a fellow human being. A fellow human being in whom he sees genuine spiritual hunger. See, he doesn't see what we see. We just see a Samaritan. But he sees someone with a genuine spiritual hunger, an engaged mind, and the potential here, a tremendous gift for preaching and evangelism. He sees all that. He could perceive such wonderful things. And every time I read this story, I just think, man, this just goes against my upbringing. I mean, so much for women can't preach. And I know if you're very religious, you'll pull out all the verses, because I know all the verses. Well, suffer not a woman to teach, and let's keep the women quiet in church, and let's keep them back in the corner, and they can clap their hands and shout, and they can join in singing maybe, but boy, don't you dare let her preach. But Jesus jumps right in with both feet here. And I want to tell you something here. Whatever verses you read, Genesis to Revelation, have got to be viewed in light of the revelation of Jesus Christ. I'm not saying the revelation over at the end. I'm talking in the Gospels. Does this match up? If not, we need to go back and look at it. Because I'm telling you, Jesus broke all the rules. You know, he just broke all the rules. And, you know, when we begin to understand these things, I hope it challenges us to see things in a different light. You know, when I grew up, it was all about, you know, go to heaven, go to heaven, go to heaven when you die, go to heaven. That was it. Go to heaven, home in the sky, go to heaven, go to heaven. I just want to say this right here. I'm not going to give much of a backstory because I want to get into this story here with the short time that I have. But the Bible is not about go to heaven when you die. It's really not. It's about union. The mystery, Christ in you, the hope of glory. You know, in Revelation, John gives us a story. The tabernacle of God is come to dwell with us. We're the temple, Paul says. Union. And I just want to say this, and at some point in time I'll have to go back and clarify this. We've always kind of been taught that we're humans trying to have us in a spiritual experience. But that's really not true. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. The Word didn't become spirit. You say, well, it was already spirit. Well, yeah. So it's not about us having a spiritual experience. It's about us becoming humans, full potential human beings. God made of the dust of the ground as man and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. It's about us becoming who God made us to be. And this woman is living far below that. But Jesus, this Samaritan woman, she's going to come to the well and encounter the Messiah. And what does he say again? I, the one speaking to you, I am he. Wow. What a statement. But I notice in the story here that Jesus, and you go check this out, Jesus talks longer to this woman, to the Samaritan woman, than he talks to his 12 disciples. Jesus talks to this Samaritan woman longer than he talks to any of his critics or even his own family. He's got this long conversation here with this woman, longer than anywhere recorded in the Gospels. Plus, she's the first person and the first ethnic and religious outsider, Samaritan, to whom Jesus reveals his identity in John's Gospel. I mean, isn't that a statement? Add on to that, she is the first believer in any of the Gospels to become an evangelist and bring her entire city to a saving experience of Jesus. You want to know what salvation is? Salvation is this union, okay? I mean, so think about that. Longer conversation brings an entire city. Outsider, Jesus reveals himself. I mean, so much for a fallen woman, right? And as I go back over these stories in fresh light, I'm noticing grace in different places than I used to see before. I love reading them, and wow, they just come alive. For example, Jesus breaks all the religious and cultural rules to make this encounter possible. Because when Jesus meets this woman at the well, the hatred between the Jews and the Samaritans is ancient, man. It goes way back. This is not a 10-year feud here. This is ancient. It's entrenched. It's bitter. You know, they don't even go through the area. And these two groups, the Jews and the Samaritans, they disagree about everything that matters. And when I say everything that matters, they disagree on how to hear God, or how to honor God, how to interpret sacred text, how and where to worship. You can read all of that if you go read the story, which I hope you will. They practice their faith in separate temples. They read different versions of the Torah. Imagine that, different versions. See, you just thought they had one. They had different versions even back then. I'm reading now the NIV. The new Bible I just bought is a NAS, New American Standard. It's supposed to be the 95 edition. I'm really looking forward to it. I've got so many King James Bibles, new King James Bibles to shake a stick at. So many of them, man, I wear them out. The backs break on them, the pages fall out. I try to get a good one. And I want to learn this NAS. So, but see, they had all of that then. They had all of that. I mean, it sounds like denominations, doesn't it? You know, they avoided social contact with each other whenever possible. I mean, you know, it sounds like, the Pentecostals and the Baptists or whoever, we won't associate with them. They don't associate with us. You know, we've kind of had that with some of the older people that they used to be with. One of their people came and preached with us, and then they get their feet called to the fire. It's like, hey, we don't associate with them people. We don't. So this story kind of fits. It's like, hey, we don't associate with them people. They might claim they're Christians, but we're right. We've got it all. That was the same argument they were having here. You know, thank goodness that the people I invited, they came and preached with us. We had a great time. It was wonderful, and we'll do it again. But man, this is the story. Jesus breaks all these religious and cultural rules here to make this encounter possible. And moreover, the Samaritan is a woman. You know, you've got to whisper when you say that, a woman, and it's not customary, it's not appropriate for Jesus, who's a Jewish guy, to talk alone with a Samaritan woman. I mean, this is much less ask for a drink of water. I mean, you got to be thinking, is he out of his mind here? You know, they've asked that question before. To put this in a more contemporary language, the Samaritan woman, she's the other. We did a lesson, Jeff and I were up here, we talking about the Ethiopian, the far-reaching outsider, the alien, the stranger. That's who she is. She's as far away as she can be. Just a little side note, in Luke's gospel, the prodigal son goes into a far country. That doesn't mean that he went on a journey and went to Asia or Alaska or whatever. To a far country, to the Jews, he could have just been in the next town over, but a far country meant he went somewhere where they weren't practicing Jews. He went to, it could have been just the next town over where they were just over there, and maybe they were pagans, maybe they were Romans, and, they didn't practice the Jewish faith. That's what it means. So the stranger, the alien, the Ethiopian, the outsider, she's as far away from the Jewish tradition as you can be. This Samaritan woman. And she represents all the boundaries that can't be crossed in the religious life. You just don't go there. You don't have other preachers come up. We don't associate with them people. They're Baptists, or we're Pentecostal, or we're Pentecostal. They're Baptists, or they're Catholics, or they're, oh God forbid, they're Muslims, or they're Buddhists. Oh God, you can't even say that, right? All these spiritual taboos that can't be broken, right? But Jesus breaks them anyway. I love that. So, this is a story about scandal. I'm telling you, the gospel really is a scandal. Jesus talked about that a lot. Scandal, a stone of stumbling, a rock of offense. And when I say a scandal, it's not a sexual scandal here, but a scandal of the heart. It's a spiritual one. The enmity between the Jews and the Samaritan is real. It's not theoretical. It's not, this is real hatred. Punch you in the nose kind of hatred. It's embodied. We don't go through their town. And the differences between them are not easily negotiated. They hate each other. It reminds me of the Palestinians and the Israelis. They hate each other. Both are fully convinced that the other one is wrong. Man, we're right, they're wrong. Man, isn't that the classic story? Ours is right, theirs is wrong. And what Jesus does when he enters into conversation with this Samaritan woman is radical, man. It's radical, it's risky. It even stuns his disciples. Why, you might ask? Because it challenges them to dream of a different kind of social and religious order, a different kind of kingdom that they had in mind. Even as John the Baptist, it's different. It's not going to look like what you think it did. And Jesus' willingness to break the rules compels us to live into the truth that people are more than the sum of their political or racial or cultural or economic identities. In our culture today, we are living in a society that all it wants is division. Oh, if you're a Republican, you can't like the Democrats. If you're a Democrat, you can't like the Republicans. You can't like anything about them. If you're a Baptist, you can't like nothing about the, whoever. If you're this, you can't like your whites, you can't like the blacks. If you're a citizen, you can't like the people coming across the border. Just all of this. And Jesus challenges us beyond all of these boundaries. Jesus calls us to put aside the stereotypes that we carry, the prejudices that we nurse. And man, boy, we do. And the social, cultural, and religious lines that we draw. And he invites us to look at the Samaritan woman and see a sister, see an apostle, not a harlot, not a heretic, not a foreigner, not an outsider, not a threat. And as I close out this Monday session, I want you to think of this. I want you to think of this, and then please, I hope you'll tune in Wednesday as we continue in the story. But I want you to think about all the boundaries that Jesus crossed in order to find you. See, you didn't find him, the lost sheep. He crossed the wilderness, the waste-howling wilderness, the depths of sin and brokenness and hurt and pain, the stereotypes, the religiosities, all of that to find you and nurse you and to carry you back. And what joy in heaven over one that he's found. That's what we're going to find out as we continue in this study of this woman at the well. Join us Wednesday. God bless you all. Hey, Jim here. Thank you for clicking through to watch that video. If you're intrigued by the work that we're doing here at Rhythms of Grace Community Fellowship, these short sessions that we put on Voice of Truth, you can, of course, hit subscribe to keep up to date with all the content we're posting here on YouTube and on Podbean. And you can head to our website at www.rhythmsofgracecommunityfellowship.com. I know it's long, but there it is. You can find us on X, formerly Twitter. I'm on there as Little Jim Moore, and Facebook. We would love for you to join us, join in these conversations about how we can encourage each other in the way of Christ Jesus. Also, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you in all the ways that you're journeying on this path towards Jesus. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.